Hello, 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 everybody. Hi there. Hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. Hi, hi, hi. I have my comments on for just a few minutes until everybody gets their notifications, and then I will get reading here soon. Hello from California. Hello. Hi, Trish. Hi, Tanya. Kitty. Hello. I'm doing quite well. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Ruby. Hello. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. So I did not announce that I would be going live tonight. This will kind of be our introduction night. But I thought, well, I've got a little bit of time. We'll go ahead and do it. So hi, hi, hi. Hello, hello. Hi, John. Hello. Donna. Hello. Nikki. Good to see you. Yay, you got the notification. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yay. Woohoo. New York. Lovely. We love that. Eddie. Hi. Welcome. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Oh, Willie B, I saw you too. There you are. Well, welcome. Hello, Deborah. Oh, my goodness. Hi, Christina. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Could have hand counts and swing states. Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting how our election laws work because it's really up to your state. Your state really kind of sets that out. How they want to do it. Hi from Minnesota. Hello, hello. Hello, welcome. Hi, Kathy. Hi there from Florida. Oh, Jenny, no. It's all right. It's all right. From Flint, Michigan. Hello, hello. Right. Oh, the gerrymandering. Oh my gosh, I know. Hello from Idaho. Well, hi. Yes, I am. I am feeling much better as far as that goes. Kristen, hello. Good to see you. So, for educating us, could you help us finding out about Absolutely, Gretchen. You betcha. That's what tonight is going to be our first piece of that. Kansas, hello, welcome. Washington, Iowa, hello. California. So tonight, everyone, I'm going to just do an introduction to Project 2025, and also we're going to talk a little bit about the cabinet positions that the president puts people into. And the reason I do that is because I think several of the people put in here will probably be authors in the P25, all right, which is what I'm going to refer to it as, just so that we don't have any kind of problems. Oh my gosh, Krista the Galaxy. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. So Oklahoma, Ohio. Oh, hello. Boston ballots, I can talk about it. I'm not set to talk about it tonight, but that is something I can put on my list here just to make sure I catch everything that's been going on. So, no, it's okay. It's okay, Deb in Arizona. It's okay. You do whatever you all need to do. It's not going to hurt my feelings whatsoever. I think it's important to know how the government works and how much power the president actually has, which you all may find is actually surprisingly small, intentionally, along with the executive branch. So no worries. Yeah, 4 years, but 2 really. It'll be actually if you look at how things typically go, we'll really only have 1 year, and then we'll start seeing the campaigning, right, for midterms. So it'll be 1 year, and then we'll start seeing campaigns, and then we'll see what happens at the midterms. So traumatized? No, it's okay. You have to decide for yourself what's good and what's not good. Whatever it is, I fully support. So, however it is you want to go about it. So, so tonight, oh, no worries, Cameron. So tonight, let's just start for a minute here. I've got a chart here of kind of how the executive branch is set out, right? So, first we have the president here, and then we have like an Oval Office over here, which is where the chief Red Hatter signed the checks to cover up the porn star situation. Those were signed in here. Chief of Staff is the primary person that works right under the president. So this would be Mark Meadows, who has been indicted in Georgia and in Arizona. And in Georgia, he's still trying to get to the Supreme Court to have his indictment moved up into federal court because he's been denied a couple times. So that's the Chief of Staff position. And then over here, we have Counselor to the President. And that can be, various other people. There could be, I don't know. It might have been Ivanka might have been there. Jared might have been there last time. I'm not really sure exactly. So that's this position. Now, after we get out of the core position, then we get to all of the heads of the different executive departments, right? So just as a quick overall, cornstarch. Yikes! Sorry, everybody, cornstarch. So, and Judy, dropping all charges is, I do not know actually what the full status is right now. Georgia's still in play. The two federal cases, we just don't know right now. They're kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do. But as soon as they let us know, I'll have it. So first we have the, here, communications. We have the cabinet secretary, White House counsel here, which I don't know. Counsel to the president was Rudy Giuliani, I think was his title. So several different attorneys here have lost their law licenses. So it's going to need to be someone new with a law license. We have a military office here, and then management and administration, scheduling in advance. We have a press secretary here. He went through quite a few of those in 2016. Political strategy and outreach. I don't know who that will be either, but it's possible that he may pull some in from that first situation. Those that have been loyal to him will be the ones that come in. It will not have anything to do with experience. It will have to do with loyalty, and we will see that time and time again. Public engagement and intergovernment affairs here. Again, these are the names of the different agencies so that when we start diving into P25, you'll know these people, there's a person in charge of each of those departments, okay? Well, Billy, that's all I've got. That's the hand I've been dealt. So I'm like, let's work with what we have at the moment. And if it gets changed and switched around, then we'll have to sort it out. Next, we've got digital strategy, staff secretary, presidential personnel. So those are just those primary pieces that come in where we're looking for different positions right below the chief of staff. All right. So we've got titled staff here. We've got a few other pieces. And then the next time I come on, we'll go through, I have a sheet of all the different seals of all the different departments, and we can start going through that as well. So we've got a soft start here, everyone. Don't worry about it, Trish. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all. Seriously, everybody, you got to do what is best for you. Absolutely do what is best for you. A lot of people have asked me to go through this, and because they want to know what is going to happen. And I thought, all right, let's talk about that. But if this isn't for you, then you should go on and do something else with your night, and it will not hurt my feelings. I totally understand. Totally. Where's Cannon going? Probably AG, perhaps. But we will have to read all 900 pages. Okay. So we'll have to see what happens. If she's going to resign, she would have to resign as a federal judge. So you're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. Digging in but on guard. Fair enough. Side by side with Agenda 47. Right. They do go hand in hand. I want to know. Yeah, I think it's good information to know. You can never have too much knowledge, in my humble opinion. So I think it's okay. Christina, oh my gosh, we are all scared. We are all scared, but we will be scared together. that will be how we do it. Yes. So, so with that, everyone, with that brief introduction here, I will go ahead and turn comments off while I'm actually going through I'm just doing an introduction tonight, so we're just going to read through the first few pages, and then I'll put comments back on. So if there was a question that you had or something you wanted to say, I will take care of that at the end. But for this beginning part, I will go ahead and turn comments off, just because, of course, we've got a troll infestation. All right, so let me go ahead and switch comments off, and then make sure you remember your questions, and I will go through those as we get there. So hold on here. Let me get my stuff sorted out. I've been saying that a lot lately. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go, everyone. I'm still here. We're here. We're still here. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome. Again, I had many people request, walk through this P25 again, and I'm happy to do it. And also kind of point out where some of the legal things are questionable, like huge question marks versus, maybe this could happen, maybe not. We'll have to see. But I will start tonight just giving you a brief overview, and then I will continue to go through this as often as I can so that we can all get some idea of what we're really going to be dealing with. So at this point, again, I have made a lot of different notations and various things. I've been through this multiple times. So just if you're seeing my scratches down there, those are just notes that I've made to myself. So here we go, everyone. P25. And that is what I will be calling this so that we don't have any kind of issues with this app. All right. I will, if I need to make the names a little bit different so we don't have problems, I will do that. So again, make sure you write down any questions you have. Let's go ahead and start with the table of contents, everybody. So first we have acknowledgements. We have the advisory board. That is one that I have posted. It is under a playlist. The transition project, so a note on P25 here. One thing I will also remind everybody was in 2022 when the Electoral Act cleanup occurred, we also had a presidential transition law that was passed as well to kind of make things go smoother for that transition of power. So I will be going over that later on, but just a friendly reminder. We have authors, contributors, and again, when we get to authors, I want to remind you a lot of these people will probably be put into the departments that they've written about. So don't be surprised if that happens. So we have a promise here to America, and then we have section 1, taking the reins of government. Number 1, the White House office, and they'll go through and describe what each job should be like for the office itself. Executive Office of the President of the United States here. So again, they're going to kind of talk about what they want to change here. Central personnel agencies managing the bureaucracy. So anytime you see the word bureaucracy, you're going to find some cuts are going to be occurring, all right? Section 2, the common defense. And this is where we start getting into our different federal agencies. Now, as I have said before, one of the executive orders that went through in that 2016 presidency kind of put everything on a furlough, right? So jobs were cut and no raises, no new hiring, all of those things for federal employees occurred. I have no doubt that that will be one of the first executive orders coming out. So we do have the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, the intelligence community, media agencies, so U.S. Agency for Global Media, Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So I have gone through and done a post on them wanting to get rid of that. So we also have Agency for International Development. Then section 3 is they've labeled general welfare here. Let me pull this down and then I can push back up when we do comments, everyone. So we have the Department of Agriculture. And so there's going to be some cuts here. Department of Education, which they are going to attempt to remove. I want to also remind everybody when it comes to these departments, even if they are under the executive branch title, all of the money goes through Congress. So if anything involves any money, hiring, firing, any of those kinds of things, what kind of budgets everybody has, that has to go through Congress. So I know a lot of people have been worried about, IEPs and various other things, especially in this Department of Education. And I would remind you, one of the things that was done at the beginning of Obama was when the First Lady had done this special kind of lunch menu. Does anyone remember that? When the First Lady's like, look, we need to eat healthier. So she went through whatever she needed to go through in order to change the lunches. So just a reminder, that's the kind of stuff that could be done right away. But if it's going to be something else, they're going to have to go through a lot of different channels. All right. So not only is it at a federal level, but it's implemented at that state level. So states come into compliance with the federal education law in order to get federal funding. But it is also the state's responsibility. Department of Energy and related commissions, Environmental Protection Agency, which has been on the chopping block for years, since actually it was passed. So we have a lot of environmental issues that, yikes, we're going to take a hit here, everyone. Department of Health and Human Services, we're going to see how DHS kind of comes in. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which Ben Carson wrote this chapter. Department of Interior, Department of Justice, Department of Labor and related agencies, Department of Transportation, Department of Veterans Affairs. All right, so that's our general welfare. Now, some people have been asking, what's going to happen to my vet benefits? That's a really great question, and it's being tossed around quite a bit. There have been promises made that there aren't going to be cuts to veteran benefits, but based off of legislation that has been suggested over this last congressional term, I would say we're going to have to see what happens. We're really going to have to see. I can't give you a firm no, they're not going to, is what I'm trying to say for veterans benefits. And that I know is scary. How those changes are going to happen, how much is going to happen, I'm not sure. But, we'll have to kind of play that by ear and see what we can do. And also, again, it has to be appropriate cuts because at this point, everything is going to get taken to court. That's what's going to happen here. So, next section 4, the economy, Department of Commerce, Department of the Treasury, Export-Import Bank. Export-Import Bank should be abolished. The case for Export-Import Bank here. So we've got a couple of different views. The Federal Reserve, Small Business Administration here, trade. So we've got people saying fair trade is this. Peter Navarro, I believe he served some time recently. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure if his criminal charge was a felony or not. So I'm not sure if he's a felon. I think it was less than 2 years that he served. But anyway, yeah, so he's the one that went to prison. And he wrote this section. And then here's a case for free trade also here. Section 5, independent regulatory agencies. Again, this is where we're going to be seeing a lot of the Supreme Court's decision from what has happened for agencies making decisions on kind of ambiguous pieces of legal language. That'll be hitting here. So financial regulatory agencies, Securities and Exchange Commission and related agencies, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is here, Federal Communications here, Commission, so the FCC, the Federal Election Commission, the Federal Trade Commission. So, and then we have kind of this closing piece. So those are the 5 different sections that we're broken into. We're broken up into those different pieces. All right, so again, this is restructuring, redoing the executive branch and agencies. And as a friendly reminder, that has been one of the biggest things that has been looked at for this conservative promise. All right, all of these changes and all of the things in the administrative or the bureaucracy part of government is what they're trying to change here. So That's that. So we'll have that. Here's the introduction for the acknowledgments, and I think that's helpful to go through in order to see what exactly their purpose is for drafting this. And then I'll kind of, again, take you through. We're doing our introduction tonight as a friendly reminder, and then we will start going through each different piece of it. So this work, Mandate for Leadership of 2025, The Conservative Promise, is a collective effort of hundreds of volunteers who have banded together in the spirit of advancing positive change for America. Our work is by no means the comprehensive compendium of conservative policies, nor is our group the exclusive cadre of conservative thinkers. The ideas expressed in this volume are not necessarily shared by all. What unites us is the drive to make our country better. First and foremost, we thank the chapter authors and contributors who gave so freely of their time and services of their country. We were particularly grateful to have the help of a dedicated members of the Heritage Foundation's management and policy teams, Executive Vice President Derek Morgan, Chief of Staff Wesley Coopersmith, Associate Director of Project 2025, which I will be changing to P25 here, everyone, Spencer Chrétien, and Thomas A. Rowe Institute for Economic Policy Studies. Director Paul Ray devoted a significant amount of their valuable time to reviewing and editing the lengthy manuscript and provided expert advice and insight. The job of transferring the work of dozens of authors and hundreds of contributors into a cohesive manuscript fell upon Heritage's formidable team of editors, led by Director of Research Editors Therese Pennefather, Senior Editor William T. Poole, Marla Hess, Jessica Lothar, Karina Rollins, and Kathleen Scaturo, without whose tireless efforts you would not be reading these words. The talented work of Data Graphics Services Manager John Fleming, Manager of Web Development and Print Projects Jay Simon, Director of Marketing Elizabeth Fender, Senior Graphic Designer Grace DeSandro, and Senior Designer Melissa Bluey came together to bring the volume to life. We also thank the dedicated junior staff who provided immeasurable assistance, especially Jordan Embry, Sarah Calvis, and Jonathan Moy. All right, so we're going through again the list of people that were involved, and any of these people could very well be seen in the White House very soon. Most important, we're grateful to the leadership, supporters, and donors of each of the P25 Advisory Board members, organizations, and those of the Heritage Foundation, without whom P25 would not be possible. Thank you. Signed, Paul Dans and Stephen Groves. All right, so we know how it was done. Again, I'm just doing an introduction here tonight. So next we have the advisory board, and I'm not going to read through all of this. We've just got hundreds here. So if you're interested, you can watch my post that I did. It is set in a playlist. If you go to my page here, you can see playlist for P25, and I do go through all of these. So here again, we have that. So here is the note, again, the intention behind P2025, the transition project. So here's our note. I will go ahead and read this. It's very short. It's just one page here, again, to give you some idea of the purpose here. A note on P25. We want you. The 25 Presidential Transition Project is the conservative movement's unified effort to be ready for the next conservative administration to govern at 12 o'clock noon, January 20th of 2025. Welcome to the mission. By opening this book, you are now part of it. Indeed, one set of eyes reading these passages will be those of the 47th President of the United States, and we hope every other reader will join in making the incoming administration a success. History teaches that a president's power to implement an agenda is at its apex during the administration's opening days. To execute requires a well-conceived, coordinated, a unified plan, and a trained and committed cadre of personnel to implement it. In recent election cycles, presidential candidates normally began transition planning in the late spring of election year or even after the party's nomination was secured. that is too late. The federal government's complexity and growth advance at a seemingly logarithmic rate logarithmic rate at every 4 years for conservatives to have a fighting chance to take on the administrative state. So that's what this is all about, everybody. This is all about the administrative state. And if you're saying, well, why? It goes all the way back to Roosevelt, back in the Great Depression, when people were so upset about all of the work that Roosevelt put into the administrative agencies to pull the country to where it needed to go. So there you go. Just a little piece of history for you. And reform our federal government. The work must start now. The entirety of this effort is to support the next conservative president, whoever he or she, we'll just say he, I don't think it'll be a she, whoever he may be. In the winter of 1980, the fledgling Heritage Foundation handed to President-elect Ronald Reagan the inaugural mandate for leadership. This collective work by conservative thought leaders and former government hands, most of whom were not part of Heritage, set out policy prescriptions, agency by agency, for the incoming president. The book literally put the conservative movement and Reagan on the same page. And the revolution that followed might never have been, save for this band of committed and volunteer activists. With this volume, we have gone back to their future. And then some. Well, we certainly have gone back, haven't we? No, we're not going back, everyone. It's not 1980. In 2023, the game has changed. The long march of cultural Marxism through our institutions has come to pass. The federal government is a behemoth weaponized against American citizens and conservative values, with freedom and liberty under siege as never before. The task at hand to reverse this tide and restore our republic to its original moorings, so like the Puritan days, I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not sure exactly when they're talking here. Is too great for any one conservative policy shop to spearhead. It requires the collective action of our movement. With the quickening approach of January 25, we have 2 years and one chance to get it right. P25 is more than 50 and growing of the nation's leading conservative organizations joining forces to prepare and seize the day. The axiom goes, personnel is policy, and we need a new generation of Americans to answer the call and come to serve. This book is functionally an invitation for you, the reader, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, and Ms. Smith, to come to Washington or support those who can. Our goal is to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. All right, again, we're talking about the administrative state here. Now, once we start going through the Constitution and I start explaining what each branch of government actually does, I want you to keep in mind that the administrative state here that they're talking about is significant, but it also isn't the entire world, all right? So they seem like, oh, we've got genie power here. We'll be able to do anything we want, but that's not actually true, even though they're saying that. So just a heads up on that, right? So the project is built on 4 pillars. Pillar number 1, thank you, Shannon. This volume puts in one place a consensus view of how major federal agencies must be governed, and where disagreement exists, brackets out these differences for the next president to choose a path. So if you are a federal employee, as you well know, things may change for you. Pillar 2 is a personnel database that allows candidates to build their own professional profiles and our coalition members to review and voice their recommendations. So this has already been going on, I'm sure, where you've got this group of people, like, what do you think about so-and-so, and so on. These recommendations will then be collated and shared with the president-elect's team, greatly streamlining the appointment process, which is true. That will make the appointment process go quicker. Remember, everyone that the president appoints to the cabinet has to be approved through Congress, right? Pillar number 3 is the Presidential Administration Academy, an online educational system. So, educational, taught by experts from our coalition. For the newcomer, this will explain how the government functions and how to function in government. For the experienced, we will host in-person seminars with advanced training and set the bar for what is expected of senior leadership. That sounds like a fun job. In Pillar 4, the playbook, we are forming agency teams and drafting transition plans to move out upon the president's utterance of, "So help me God." As Americans living in the approach of our nation's 250th birthday, we have been given much. As conservatives, we are as much required to steward this precious heritage for the next generation. On behalf of our coalition partners, we thank you and invite you to come and join with us at p25.org. Signed by this guy. Right, so there you go. There's the note. It's one thing I want to caution all of you, even as we're going through this, don't freak out, all right, everybody? Because don't freak out. This is where the bad guy comes in and lays out all of his plans. And the good guy's like, oh, he's telling us all of their plans. And then what happens to the bad guy? Right, he gets caught. So keep that in mind, everyone. This is the evil plan, so to speak, and it will be something that everyone else can put into play when it comes to what do we need to do. Here we go. Here's some contributors again. I won't go through all of these, but it is listed online if you're interested in all of the people involved. And then we have 35 authors here. So I'll just tell you what their names are. We have Darren Baxt, Jonathan Berry, Lindsay Burke, David Burton. These are the ones that wrote all of this stuff. Adam Kandube, Dustin Carmack, Brendan Carr, Benjamin Carson, so you know who that guy is, right? And then we have Stephen Groves here. My pages are out of order from the last time I did a post on this. Ken Cuccinelli, Rick Dearborn, Veronique De Ruggie, Donald Devine, Deanna Furchgott-Roth, sorry, I don't speak German, apologies, Thomas Gilman, Mandy Gunasekera, apologies again, Jean Hamilton, Jennifer Hazelton, Karen Kerrigan, Dennis Dennis Dean Kirk, Kent Lassman, Bernard McNamee, Christopher Miller, McNamee, I'm sorry. No, it's a great name. I mean no disrespect. Stephen Moore, Maura Namder, Peter Navarro. Yeah, I'm really wondering, was it, I can't remember. Now the chat's off. I can't remember how many months he was in prison for. So, well, I'll ask you all when we turn the Q&A on. William Pendley is another person. We're in the P's. Here we go. Max Primorak, Primorak, Roger Saravino. That sounds like wine, doesn't it? I'm sorry, everybody. Stay on target. Kyron Skinner, Brooks Tucker, Hans A. von Spekowski. Okay. Russ Vaught, William Walton, Paul Winfrey, and then editors Paul Dans and somebody else. It looks like Paul Dan's here, but there's one more. I'm missing a page, I think. All right. So here we go, everybody. Oh my gosh. All right. So those are the authors, and then we have our foreword here. So the foreword just kind of sets out again what the major plans are. So I'm going to read through this foreword tonight again because we're just doing an introduction tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and redline or mark with my red pen the pieces in here that would violate the Constitution. All right. And again, you might say, well, with this Supreme Court, they're not going to care. And to that I say, some of them will not care. Some of them will do, what you think they will do. But there are some wild cards. So I want to just put that out there as well. I don't think the Supreme Court is completely, only going to make certain decisions. And we've seen that. We've seen how there have been multiple weird splits between the justices. So it's not definite, is what I'm trying to say. So here we go. 44 years ago, the United States and the conservative movement were in dire straits. All right. Both had been betrayed by the Washington establishment and were uncertain whom to trust. Both were internally splintered and strategically adrift. We're still at that moment of acute vulnerability and division. We found ourselves besieged by existential adversaries, foreign and domestic. Okay, let's just for a moment. The late 1970s were by any measure a historic low point for America. Or, from another perspective, that was the high point for individual rights. We'll just put that there. And the political coalition dedicated to preserving its unique legacy of human flourishing and freedom. Today, America and the conservative movement are enduring an era of division and danger akin to the late 1970s. Now, as then, our political class has been discredited by wholesome dishonesty and corruption. Look at America under the ruling and cultural elite today. Inflation is ravaging family budgets. This kind of overdose on lives continue to escalate, and children suffer from toxic normalization of transgen with these people and corn invading their school libraries. So this is not true. We'll do true or false also. Overseas, a totalitarian communist dictatorship in Beijing is engaged in a strategic, cultural, and economic Cold War against America's interests, values, and people, all while globalist elites in Washington awaken only slowly to that growing threat. So a repeated theme, everyone, throughout P25 is going to be choosing an enemy. And this is the enemy, one of the enemies they've chosen. All right. So you're going to hear this line multiple times. Moreover, low-income communities are drowning in addiction and government dependence. Contemporary elites have even repurposed the worst ingredients of 1970s radical chic to build the totalitarian cult known today as the Great Awakening. What? The Great Awakening. Sorry. And now, as then, the Republican Party seems to have little understanding about what to do. I think that's correct, everybody. Hold on. I'm going to highlight that. Right? It's true. And now, as then, Republican Party seems to have little understanding about what to do. That, I think, is a true statement. So, most alarming of all, the very moral foundations of our society are in peril. Yet students of history will note that notwithstanding all of these challenges, the late 1970s proved to be the moment when the political right unified itself. It did something to itself. And the country, sorry everybody, and led the United States to historic political, economic, and global victories. The Heritage Foundation is proud to have played a small but pivotal role in that story. It was in early 1979, amid stagflation, gas lines, and the Red Army's invasion of Afghanistan, the nadir of Jimmy Carter's days of malaise, the Heritage Foundation launched the Mandate for Leadership project. We brought together hundreds of conservative scholars and academics across the conservative movement. Together, this team created a 20-volume, 3,000-page governing handbook. Yikes, containing more than 2,000 conservative policies to reform the federal government and rescue the American people from Washington dysfunction. It was a promise from the conservative movement to the country, confident, specific, and clear. Tea break. All right, Mandate for Leadership was published in January of 1981. The same month, Ronald Reagan was sworn into his presidency. By the end of that year, more than 60% of its recommendations had become policy. And Reagan was on his way to ending stagflation, reviving American confidence and prosperity, and winning the Cold War. The bad news today is that our political establishment and cultural elite have once again driven America towards decline. The good news is that we know the way out, even though the challenges today are not what they were in the 1970s. Conservatives should be confident that we can rescue our kids, reclaim our culture. What? All right. Revive our economy and defeat the anti-American left. At home and abroad, we did it before and we'll do it again. Now, I just want to note right here that one of the pieces of our civil rights, in the civil rights, not only in the law, but through case law, has said you're not supposed to discriminate against people based off of culture. So, in my opinion, this would be a violation here. So this is a violation of equal protection by claiming that our culture or cultures other than what they want are bad. So I would put that down as a constitutional violation. As Ronald Reagan put it, freedom is a fragile thing and it's never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by way of inheritance. Aren't they the Heritage Foundation? Wait a minute. Inheritance, right? All right. Well, that's confusing. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each government. This is the duty history has put before us and the standard by which our generation of conservatives will be judged. I'm not sure that that's what they'll be judged about, but perhaps. And we should not want it any other way. The legacy of Mandate for Leadership, and indeed the entire Reagan revolution, is that if a conservative wants to save the country, we need a bold and courageous plan. This book is the first step to that plan, in that plan. All right, so there's that. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm sorry, everybody, but some of this they're putting it on a little thick here. All right, here we go. Let's go through just this conservative promise here. We'll just kind of take this a step at a time. So the conservative promise, this volume, The Conservative Promise, is the opening salvo of the 25 Presidential Transition Project launched by the Heritage Foundation and our many partners in April of 2022. Its 30 chapters lays out hundreds of clear and concrete policy recommendations for the White House offices, cabinet departments, Congress, all right, so Congress is supposed to be involved, and agencies, commissions, and boards. Just as important as the scope of the Conservative Promise's recommendations is the breadth of its authorship. This book is the product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from across the conservative movement and around the country. Contributors include former elected officials, world-renowned economists, and veterans from 4 presidential administrations. This is an agenda prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day one of the next administration to save our country from the brink of disaster. The Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work, but as our dozens of partners and hundreds of authors will attest, this book is a work of the entire conservative movement. As such, the authors express consensus, recommendations already forged, especially among 4 broad fronts that will decide America's future. Number 1, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. So that's number 1. And number 2, dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Number 3, defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. And 4, secure our God-given individual rights to live freely, what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. So, hold on one second here, everybody. Let me just double check something here. All right. Okay, just to make sure everybody remembers, blessings of liberty here is included in the preamble to the Constitution, right? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, sorry, my cat sneezing, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of freedom to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. All right, so there's that. Are you done sneezing, Atticus? Okay, he's done. Sorry, everybody. All right, here we go. What makes these four pieces of the conservative promise so valuable to the next president is that they cut through the superficial distractions and focus on the moral and foundational challenges America faces in this moment in history. This was one of the secrets of conservatives' success in the Reagan era. One our generation should emulate. As in the 1970s, Americans today experience the failures of political and cultural elites in the countless ways in the job market, in the grocery store checkout lines, on the streets, and in our schools, in the media, within our institutions. But in truth, these daily dysfunctions are not innumerable problems, but innumerable manifestations of a few core crises. Crises. All right, so they're all about the cost of groceries. 1979, the threats we faced were the Soviet Union, the socialism of 1970s liberals. What? That's what? Again, you're not supposed to discriminate based off of that. And the predatory deviancy of cultural elites. Reagan defeated these beasts by ignoring their tentacles and striking instead at their hearts. So, like octopus style, I guess. Oh my goodness. His approach to the Cold War, we win, they lose. His economic agenda, the human dignity of work and its many rewards. His platform in culture wars, the community of values embodied in these words: family, work, neighborhood, peace, and freedom. This book and P25 as a whole will arm the next conservative president with the same kind of strategic clarity, but for a new age. All right, and then I will just give you an overview of these next few pieces, and then we'll go ahead and do a Q&A here. So promise number 1, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. And then we have, And then promise number 2, dismantle the administrative state, return self-governance to the American people. All right. So let me just hit on the budget. Consider the federal budget. Under current law, Congress is required to pass a budget and 12 issue-specific spending bills comporting with it every single year. The last time Congress did so was in 1996. Congress no longer meaningfully budgets, authorizes, or categorizes spending. Instead, and let me come back to this in a minute here, everybody. Instead, party leaders negotiate one multi-trillion-dollar spending bill, several thousand pages long, and then vote on it before anyone literally has had a chance to read it. Debate time is restricted, amendments are prohibited, and all this is backed up against a midnight deadline where the previous omnibus spending bill will run out and the federal government shuts down. This process isn't designed to empower 330 million American citizens and their elected representatives, but rather to empower the party elites secretly negotiating without any public scrutiny or oversight. In the end, congressional leaders' behavior and incentives here are no different from those of global elites insulating policy decisions over the climate, trade, public health, you name it. From the sovereignty of national electorates, public scrutiny and democratic accountability make life harder for policymakers. So they skirt it. It's not dysfunction, it's corruption. And despite its gaudy price tag, the federal budget is not even close to the worst example of this corruption. So let me pull back for a minute, all right? Let's go back. So this piece, and this is what I'm talking about, and I will continue to talk about as we go through this. This piece, under promise number 2, they're like, oh, we don't like how you do the omnibus. We don't like how you set the federal budget and the spending. And to that, I would say in the Constitution, that is Congress's job under Article 1. So they're coming in with this idea like, oh, we need to clean this up. We need to fix how this works. The purse strings are solely that of Congress. So I'm not sure how it would be even possible for the president to come in and be like, Congress, you need to stop doing what you've done since 1996 because you need to do it this way, the way that I want you to do it. And what's Congress going to say? I mean, right? Because the egos in Congress are pretty large. Now, some of you will say a lot of these people just will blindly follow the president, and perhaps that's true. But if you look at the races and how things have been split, I'm not sure they're going to have enough votes for them to go in and say, fine, we're going to change how we do the spending bill that we've been doing since 1996. Now, with the Speaker of the House, could things get kind of weird? Maybe. But again, that's what I'm talking about. Throughout this entire P25, they are going and discussing how they want Congress to work. Now, I remind you that Congress, although some of them are being puppeted, not all of them are, right? And my example earlier today was when people were worried about Social Security disability. And my comment was, have you seen Bernie Sanders? Right? Have you heard the man? So there still are some leaders there in Congress that can step down on these. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. So that was an example of the budget here. Again, we're just doing an intro tonight. Number 3, defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. So this is really going to go into a lot of the border stuff, a lot of the Homeland Security, ICE kind of things here that they're going to be talking about. And again, I would remind you that although citizenship does go through the executive branch, removal of citizenship goes through the judicial branch. And before you say that doesn't matter because the Supreme Court is corrupt, I would remind you that this Supreme Court has already supported the way that our citizenship and citizenship removal works. So they'd have to go back on their own words in order to do that. Just as a friendly reminder, next up, Promise 4, secure our God-given individual right to enjoy the blessings of liberty. So I would say as a friendly reminder to these people, the Declaration of Independence is not something that is legally valid. So we can't cite the Declaration of Independence because it has no power or authority over American law. It just doesn't. So it just doesn't, everyone. Now get as mad as you want, but that's just how it is. Not only that, but the preamble to the Constitution is not law. It's not recognized as law. So if you want your individual rights, you're going to have to look to the amendments and the articles in the Constitution, and you want your blessings of freedoms, then you're going to have to look to those water blots or the penumbra, the intent behind the articles as well as the 27 amendments. So, right, just in case they're like, well, this is the Constitution. Like, you can't cite the preamble as a right. The preamble is not a right in the Constitution. I'm going to put it there, even though many of you, I'm sure, memorized. So here we go. Again, they're just kind of going through it and explaining. Here's the Soviet Empire. The left is out of control. See that. And then here's the last one, best effort. So here we go. Ultimately, the left does not believe that all men are created equal. Oh, just the men. No women. They think they are special. They certainly don't think all people have an unalienable right to pursue the good life. That is false. They also think only of themselves and such a right along with a moral responsibility to make decisions for everybody else. They don't think any citizen, state, business, church, or charity should be allowed any freedom until they first bend the knee. To what? I'm not sure. Who are we bending the knee to? I'm just curious. I don't know what that even means. Next, this book, this agenda, the entire P25 is a plan to unite the conservative movement and the American people So the conservative movement is 1, and the American people is 2, part 2, against elite rule and woke culture warriors. Now I'm just wondering, I'm just spitballing here, everybody. But do we think that Elon Musk is an elite ruler person? I'm just wondering, would he fall in here or not? I'll have to contemplate that later. So there you go. And then we flip. So that takes us then to section 1, where we're talking about taking the reins of government and starting to go through the different positions here. Now you probably can't tell, but going through the different chapters here, I've got everything tabbed off so we can go through these one at a time. Now tonight again, everyone, was just a big wide open introduction to get everybody on the same page on what is actually involved in P25. And then do some Q&As here. I'm not going through the exact content tonight other than this introductory piece. So let me go ahead and turn on questions. Trolls, if you're here, you're gonna get blocked. So you might as well go ahead and move along. And the others, I would request you not to engage with the trolls. I have so many amazing moderators here. They'll take care of it. But up to you. Life's about choices, right, everybody? Hello. Welcome back. Bye, Neil. Bye. Sending prayers and positive vibes. Thanks. Hi, Sarah. Hello, Krista. Hello. Thank you so much. Right. So we're just getting started tonight, everybody. We're just getting started. I just had a little bit of time, and I wanted to kind of kick off this new series of lives that we'll be doing here. Hello. You're awesome. Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, absolutely, everybody. Absolutely. Right. So, bend the knees, a Game of Thrones reference. Oh, man, I just did not even... That's ridiculous. Thank you for breaking this. Absolutely. And we're just getting started tonight. Again, everybody. We're just getting started. So we have this overview, but I think, again, what I have found going through each of these is as the suggestions start coming in and we start reading through the White House office and various other things, there are so many things that are actually not even possible. And most of these things require another branch of government to agree. So if it's not able to be done just by the executive branch, then we don't have unlimited genie power here. All right. That's not how the government's designed. It really isn't, even though it may feel like it. We don't have unlimited power. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, lots of weird things written in here. Exactly. The projection of themselves outward. Oh, I know. Yeah. What will be the live schedule moving forward? Great question. So here's what I'll say, everybody. I am wondering, I'm going to try to go probably at 7:00 again. So the times that work best for me are going to be, I'll be only doing this one in the evening. Sometimes I come on during the day in the morning. Hold on, puzzle piece, everybody. Oh, I can't see TikTok. Come on, man. Did I make it? No, I didn't make it. Hold on, everybody. TikTok, you are not very disabled person friendly. All right, there we go. So I will be doing I will be going through P25 in the evenings. Now, how many evenings a week? I'm just not sure, but it will be that 7:00 time. So you can kind of check back and see if I've posted that we will go live or that, and see if I will. Sometimes I can't even get it posted, but if you come across me in the evening and you see this background, this is going to be the P25 background. So you can look just at a glance. That means I'll be going through it. All right. So again, I can't give you exact days, but 7:00 Central will be the time zone that I go. Thank you, Sarah. Exactly. I apologize. Yes, Central. Yep. Could this become possible since they have all three branches of government? Here's the deal, everyone. Let's talk about that for a minute. I've been seeing that all over the place. They have all three branches of government, but they don't. It feels like they do. And I'm not just saying that to make everybody feel better. truly, it feels like they have all the branches. Let me just give you, a visual here. Hold on. Let me get my puppets out real quick. So we have to keep in mind with the Supreme Court that although incredibly frustrating and no trust left, we are still not a sure in. We're not a sure in. All right. So let's see. Did I even? No, I didn't. All right. Here we go, everyone. Oh, here he is right there. Oh, I forgot I made a new one. Here we go. Let me just explain here real quick. Here's our Supreme Court. So we have our three liberal ladies up here, right? Justice Sotomayor is the most senior member. And then we have our very conservative justices here, these guys. I would have put the Chief Justice in the middle as a wild card, but he has proven to be clearly on this side. I'll even go ahead and put Gorsuch. I can't put Gorsuch. Gorsuch is a wild card. He's a jerk, but he's also a wild card. We don't know how he's going to rule. And Justice Amy here, I only use her first name because she has two last names, all right? I don't mean any disrespect. But she is really a wild card and actually came in her concurrences basically agreeing with a lot of our liberal justices, but found one or two things that kept her from voting with them. So in my opinion, we've got two wild cards leaning right, one wild card leaning left. So I don't think they've got the entire court, and they've got a lot, but I don't think it's a slam dunk every time, is how I'm putting it. Right, and it doesn't matter, in my opinion, it does not matter who or where these three came from. And we got to let that go. All three of these people knew each other before they were justices. These two guys grew up with each other. They went to high school together. And they knew her from college. She was a professor for, this dude. So, there is a lot of those entrenched in there. But truly, we have absolutely guaranteed a 3 and 3. And then we've got 3 wild cards. Again, 2 of them are leaning right and 1 is leaning left. So again, I'm not trying to say the Supreme Court's great or that they're going to make good decisions. I'm just giving you the information. Devil horns, yeah. I'm not a big Alito fan. I think if you have had articles of impeachment drafted against you, you may not be up for the job. All right, so just keeping it there. Now, also in the Senate, I know they've taken the Senate, everybody, but only 30% of the Senate can go up for re-election in any given year. And if you look and see how many got such and such and how many didn't, within the Republican Party, there's a split, right? So within the Republican Party, they are not friends. And so I wouldn't say that it's a solid sure win every time. I'm not going to say that because some of those senators do not always vote with their party. And for the House, we don't know at this point, but it's so close. And again, with those Republicans split in their own party because they're too busy fighting each other, that's going to, again, not be a guaranteed. We don't have any guarantees coming out of Congress at this point. It's all kind of a wild show. We're absolutely right-leaning, but it's a, thank you very much, sticky notes. It's a wild card, all right? And I say that from a state and local government background here. So this is going to be P25, which is the table of contents here. I'm leaving that up so people can kind of look at it here as we go through this. So keep that in mind, everybody. We're leaning, but it's not guaranteed. And again, based off of a lot of the Supreme Court decisions that have come down in the oral arguments I've listened to, we've got leaning to the right and leaning to the left. So I cannot say Congress is guaranteed, especially with these numbers. They're so close. Even the Senate, it's not as close as it's been this last year. No, but that was a weird close. But now we are in still an area where we're not going to have 2/3 of the Senate. So if you've got 2/3 of the Senate, you've got a super majority, and the other party's not going to get anything done at all. We don't have that. They do not have 2/3 of the Senate. So just kind of keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Is it going to be okay? That I can't guarantee, but I'm hoping for. Am I trying to make it, so that everyone can sleep better? Also, no. I'm just giving you facts here. All right? They don't have 2/3. And they certainly do not have the votes in the House to have solid policy come through that's going to absolutely wreck stuff. All right. And that's also because of their own people in their own party. All right. So I want to remind you all of that. So, and especially with the Supreme Court, again, it's not great, everybody. The Supreme Court's not great at this point. We've got 2 justices with articles of impeachment. And how is that going to make it through? And that's a good question. I do not know. Is the Senate going to convict them? Absolutely not, because it's too right. But it's too right-leaning. But on the other hand, at least they've been drafted up. So I'm not trying to say they're great. I'm not trying to say Congress is okay. I'm not trying to say that the executive branch is quartered off enough to not cause harm. I'm not going to say that because that's not true. But it's not the actual end of the world. Oh my gosh. Ineffective, yes. Ineffective Congress. I would say, everyone, at this point, if you're left leaning, you're going to want that ineffective Congress. You're going to want that because you're going to want those filibusters on those pieces of legislation that is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to be looking for that. So don't count the left out yet, because there's a lot of them and they know the secrets of the trade. And this is going to be just as the right had tried to do with this last ineffective Congress, the left will try to do it as well, right? To kind of halt the hard ballots or the hard points that are going to be coming in. They're going to soften the edges, all right? That's what I'm trying to say. The left are actually lawyers. Well, right. So, Ria, great question about Biden asking Justice Sotomayor to step down. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that there's that conversation going on. So the only issue I can see with her stepping down is the Senate coming in, pulling a Gorsuch situation by refusing to hear who's coming up next, because right now our Senate is so close. I mean, we are so close. There's no guarantees that the Senate will even listen. So we can't, in my opinion, we cannot get a guaranteed liberal justice on the Supreme Court right now. We can't do that. Yeah. So that's going to be a problem. We don't want the Gorsuch situation to happen again. So I'm sure they're talking about it and figuring it out and strategizing it, but I would highly doubt that. A class on the Constitution today. I want to learn as much as possible. Absolutely, everybody. And everyone should learn as much as possible. There's a lot of stuff going around about, this massive deportation that they're talking about, and like a lot of stuff. There's a lot of fear out there. And I mean, according to the Constitution, what several of the fear things are completely unconstitutional and can't be done. But everyone always comes back with, we've got a corrupt Supreme Court. So of course it can all be done. Yet, I would say we have a few justices that are out of line, but I think there is no guarantee with the wild cards. That's my opinion. So this is P25 here. All right, right here. Let me highlight it so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I just really want to make that clear to everybody. We don't have a complete unlimited genie power government on the right. Now, I've seen a lot of people on the right say that they have that, but in reality, they really don't. To avoid repeat of what happened after Ruth. I know. And I agree. And I think if it had been last year, yes. But this close, we've got a lame duck president at this point. type situation. And I don't think the Senate is going to be able to get enough votes to even listen to it. We just cannot have another Gorsuch situation, right? Yes, I'll put this up on my tube of you. And Sotomayor, she's got some fire to her still. She still got it. She still got it. No, she's not sick. She's not sick. That's not been announced at all. Yeah, what happened with Justice Ginsburg? Absolutely. I try to not call her Ruth, but again, she's got two last names. So for me, I go to that first name. Substantive due process. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. There's a lot of questions. She wasn't sick. Well, she wasn't sick, but she was, Justice Sotomayor, she's strong lady. She's not in the same situation. Yes. And we also have, for me, we've got a very low tolerance, almost no tolerance for trolls here anymore. So if your name is even a troll, then you're getting out. Because we need to, kick this up a notch. We need to make sure the information gets out to the people so you all know how your rights work and how to protect yourself. So we just don't have time to play with them. Strategizing. Yeah, right. So strategizing. So the top of it was off. There we go. Maybe I should put it down here. That'll be better. Yes. So I've been going through this just kind of an introductory piece here. I'm here to learn. Thanks. Watching the chat and booting them. Oh my gosh, my moderators are amazing, but they're like going to get carpal tunnel from the last couple days. Oh my gosh. How do I find my federal and state rights? So Gretchen, that's a great question. And one I think we should really talk about for just a minute, everybody. And I think this is so important. I'm even going to get another sticky note out. Hold on. Just a minute. Oh, I'm going to have to use my Trump trials binder here. All right, hold on. That's such a great question. So I'm going to give it to you straight, everybody. All right, real quick. So we have state and we have federal. So that's our federalism, right? So the feds have the Constitution. So the U.S. Constitution. There are federal statutes passed by Congress, which I always spell wrong, statutes. Oh my gosh, my teachers are like, what happened to you? And then the last one, we have case law, all right? Which, depending on if you're talking to me or legal dad, may be referred to as common law. So these are our three places where your law is. Now in your state, you have your state's constitution, and then you have your state statutes, which your representatives create. I'm just going to say stats so I don't embarrass myself anymore. And then we have state case law. All right. So, and even under case law, we have regionals. So depending on where you're at. So that's where your laws are. Now you may say, well, how do I know if I have to remove snow off of my sidewalk? That's going to be a local ordinance. So we can get into the finite pieces of that. What is your local ordinances? What is your city laws? What are your state laws? So even those, if you think about the different law enforcement, this is one way people can keep them straight. If you think about the law enforcement in your area, that's going to tell you where your law is. All right. If you're wondering about it, because we have our sheriffs, which do the county work typically, right? You have your police that do your city work. And then you have your state troopers and they do the state work. All right. That's where you're going to find your laws. All right. So again, your local county, then the city, then the state. Very educational. Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that is just, innate to understand. Will he actually put any of these laws into place since most of the House is Republicans? They can try. The biggest power, honestly, The biggest power that he will have out of the office will be executive orders. That's where most of the things are going to happen. He filed so many executive orders. And the thing about executive orders is that somebody drafts it up for him, tells him it's a good thing, and then he signs it. So executive orders have their place, but executive orders have always been an issue for all presidents. Whenever a new president comes in, they revoke at least half or more of the prior president's executive orders, and then they add a whole bunch themselves. So the executive orders is where you're going to see some of the things like the travel ban was in there, the 1776 committee was in there, the federal employees stopping hiring on that, and the budget, mostly Congress does that. Those are all executive orders. So, and certain language that's put into certain agencies, mission statements, and so on, that can be changed as well. All right. Oh, from Hawaii. Hello. So yes. So you're going to see a barrage of executive orders. But the thing about executive orders is they still have to comply with the law. One of the examples I always give is TikTok versus Trump. He had filed an executive order to get rid, basically, of the talk. They took it to court, and the court said, wow, no, we can't do that. And then it was dismissed. So again, that's another example. They can try to do as much as they can through executive orders. That's one of the reasons Biden got so frustrated, was because he can only do so much through executive orders, right? So all of the loan forgiveness for your student loans and those kinds of things, that all went through executive orders. Are the mass deportations unconstitutional? So that's a good question. And I'm going to say there's a couple of ways to go down this road. The first road is equal protection under the 14th Amendment, which means anybody in the United States has some rights under our Constitution. It doesn't matter if you're here with documents or not. You still have some rights. Case law will define what those rights are. So you'll have to look and see which ones work and which ones don't. Same for anyone under 18. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, it doesn't matter who you are. Police and law enforcement can't just be like, hey, what's going on? They have to have reasonable suspicion. So they still have to have one level of reasonable suspicion to believe some criminal activity is afoot in order to stop you. So you have to have those in place as well. And then it goes up from there and there. What are you most worried about from the incoming administration? You know, Evan, I'm so glad you asked me that. And I guess I would have to say that's a really great question, because when I read through P25, I see a lot of the changes in the agencies and who's in charge and who they hire. I'm concerned a lot about what's going to happen with the federal employees, I guess is probably the best thing. The easiest way for me to say it. We have something in place right now, and we have had it in place. And those people, the easiest way for me to say it. We have something in place right now, and we have had it in place. And those people that have been working there for 20 years, 15, 20 years, just doing their job, nonpartisan, doing their job. And we have a political appointees in the system, and then just the ones that are there all the time. So the political appointees, of course, are going to come in, but I'm worried about those federal employees that are there all the time since the beginning of time, right? Those full-time federal employees that are nonpartisan. That's honestly who I'm the most worried about here. And when it comes to this particular document. Now, the number one targeted group that I'm worried about will be the LGBTQIA plus community. That's a huge target. I think that will be one of the number one targets that we need to make sure everybody knows what their rights are. And I think the second target will, of course, be immigrants. So those are huge targets. I'm hoping they don't pull a third in by trying to do some kind of like we had in the past, some laws specific to Chinese Americans. And so that's one more piece that I'm hoping doesn't get dragged in. So that's it for me. Those are the ones. Can he get rid of unions? No. He can try. He can make it uncomfortable for them, but unions they will figure it out. All right. I do not see how unions, the way that they are made and the way case law supports them, and actually one of the critical Youngstown cases talking about executive power has to do with the president coming in and taking over certain situations and because of unions. And in that case, the Supreme Court said, whoa, you don't have that kind of authority. So our unions are protected, but the extent of benefits out of the unions may be reduced. Congress can get rid of unions. I guess the way that I look at it is there is so much law protecting and constitutional accountability protecting our unions. I cannot see Congress being able to go in and pass legislation that would eliminate unions. I cannot see that happening under the Constitution. I just can't. Can he stop Social Security and disability? Great question. Social Security disability is Congress's job. That's Congress's job. They're going to regulate what those benefits are, who gets those benefits, and so on. It is part of the administrative state, so there may be some shifts. And we've seen that before with Social Security and disability when things get shifted. They kind of toss things around every few years anyway. So absolutely things may change, but elimination would not work. What about Social Security? Can you get rid of it? Right. That's what I'm talking about. So Social Security is, again, it's up to Congress. Congress is the one that's going to have the purse strings, right? So if you're like, my benefits are going to go away, where do you get your benefits from? You get your benefits from Congress. That's it. That's why he wanted to sign his name on the checks during the COVID. He's like, I want to sign my name on the checks. Even though that money's coming to us from Congress, that money had to be authorized from Congress, but he wanted to put his name on it. So it's like, what? So again, you cannot eliminate these kinds of programs without congressional approval. Yeah, you can't change the Constitution. It feels like it, but he can't. He can defund. So again, the funding is that huge spending bill, the omnibus bill that goes through Congress. Those kinds of things are all up to Congress. Congress does that. Should we prepare for further financial hardships? Yes, I do believe we will have financial hardships because I think this whole situation with his tariffs are already freaking out other countries. We're already seeing reporting on that. So I do think that there may be some things you want to kind of stock up on. Do I think you're going to need to have like 2 years worth of stockpile? No. But yeah, I think your bread price, it's not going to go down. All right? That price is not going to go down. That's what I would put out there. Department of Education, they've been going after it for years. Again, to eliminate an entire department, that's going to take some work and some agreements. They weren't able to do it the last time. And so you think, why didn't they get rid of even the person in charge of the Department of Education? What was her name again? I can't even remember. Betsy or Buddy or Billy, Beverly. I can't remember her name. She herself wanted to get rid of the Department of Education, but they couldn't. So there's a lot of things that you have to go through in order to eliminate a full department like that. What's going to happen to the LGBTQ community? Oh my gosh, my heart breaks. You're going to have to be strategic. That community is going to have to be careful and strategic about how their lives are going to go, because that is the other target. There's such, and I would say one of the reasons why that's such a difficult target is because the ones who are targeted the hardest are the smallest group within the group. So all of these discussions about the trans people and issues with going to school coming back different or medical care, those kinds of things are going to take a hit when they change the language in equal protection statutes. Those communities are going to have to be careful, very careful. Yes. DeVos, thank you. It's going to, yeah. So I would recommend be careful. Yeah, so the freedom that has been enjoyed such that it was is going to be reduced again. We're going backwards in time for the amount of safety and protection for that community of people. Police having immunity. Police have immunity, everyone. They have qualified immunity. And based off of the cases that have been coming down from the Supreme Court over the last 5 years, that immunity is not going anywhere. They're not expanding it, but they're certainly not reducing it by any means. So qualified immunity is the key. The key to that is going to be looking through your case law and how the Supreme Court's come down and said, this is right, this is not. I think one of the most famous from Thomas was, do police have to come in when you've got a restraining order? And, it's like, no, their qualified immunity kicked in. And I posted a case about that. But there's a lot of situations like that. Qualified immunity is not going away. Who would they appoint to replace education if they get rid of? So what they want to do is they want to split the Department of Education's functions into and merge them into other agencies. So they want to get rid of the agency and then just kind of sprinkle them throughout the other agencies so that the pieces, most of the pieces are still there, but they're moved to a different place so they can eliminate it. Insurrection 14th Amendment's off the table with the Supreme Court. That's off the table. Can he stop the next election? No, he cannot, because that is federally regulated. That's federal law. Federal law sets out how our elections are supposed to go forward, and then states are getting into the weeds with the details. Not only that, but elections are in the Constitution. So that is a constitutional situation. Have come out with statements. That's a good point, Suze. Yeah, it's a good point. What about FAFSA? Great question. Project 20 or P25 here does have some things about reducing, and I think there was one piece where they were wanting to get rid of Pell Grants. Again, all of that would have to go through Congress, and we don't have a surefire win in Congress. We do not have a Congress that can just do whatever they want. They do not have 2/3 of the Senate. They do not have enough of a supermajority in the House. So if they're going to change the federal loan rules, they're going to have to get all the votes. And I'm not sure that they can. Taking the time to explain, knowledge is so powerful. Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to help. Can you take women's voting rights? No. So the 19th Amendment in the Constitution, the only way to remove the right for women to be able to vote is to add another amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And that takes 2/3 of Congress or 2/3 of the states getting together in a constitutional convention. So the only way to take away a constitutional right is by another amendment. Now, let me side quest here on the Roe v. Wade case. One of the reasons why Roe versus Wade was able to be overturned is because that right was not solidified in the Constitution. That voting right is solidified. All right, or affirmative action. Again, that right was nowhere in the Constitution. And if you put it under equal protection, that umbrella, again, that can come and go depending on the justices on the bench. But if there's a solid right in the Constitution, it has to be followed. And that's 7 articles and 27 amendments. Republicans retain rights, but it's slim. And that's the thing. That's the thing, though, is, majority versus the minority party. It's tough. And I'm not going to say it's going to be fun, but it's tough. It's a close enough split in the House that although the speaker will be chosen by the winning party, it will kind of lead. We've seen what can happen with the Speaker of the House and how that can be very controversial, because you still have to remember, everybody, within the Republican Party, they are split. Not everybody in the Republican Party is a red hat. Now, if they voted, I got to think about that. I got to think about it for a little bit. But they're not all red hats, even if they've supported the red hat to get to the House. So I want you to keep that in mind too. There are many that are still there that are very, very displeased with that situation. Will the blue states remain safe from this? Pretty much, pretty much. Can he indemnify the police? No. What about disability, Social Security? Congress. That's where Social Security and disability is. Can he take away birth control? Great question. So far, we have the Griswold versus Connecticut was the first original case where Planned Parenthood situation could talk to a woman about birth control. So that case would have to be overruled in order for them to, do away with birth control. Will that case be overruled? Highly unlikely. Is it possible? Well, anything's possible, I guess. Anything is possible. And, with this dude, we got issues going on. This dude and this dude. So these two dudes, if they get their hands on a similar birth control case that would give them precedent to overturn Griswold, it's possible. Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. We would have to have a case go from regular court to the Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court of to the Supreme Court of the state, then issue or request a writ of certiorari. The court would have to accept that. They would have to hear it and they'd have to decide it. And there's no way that's going to be fast tracked. All right, this kind of an issue on overruling such a pivotal case. Chevron took forever to get overruled. I mean, that was years in the making. Right. Oh, you're welcome, Marcia. You're welcome. Does Biden have any options to interfere? No, in my opinion, no. And I don't think he would want to. I think one of the hardest things that we're dealing with right now, everybody, is getting back to following the rules as they're meant to be. Birthright citizenship. So, all right, there is a case again. Oh my gosh, I feel bad. I forgot his name. There is a case that was decided by the U.S. Supreme Court that said that birthright citizenship comes into play under the 14th Amendment. Now, one of the big questions again is citizenship like that is not specified in the Constitution. It's under, again, the 14th Amendment through case law. And it's possible they could overrule that case. That case was decided in the 1800s. So if they want to go back and say, well, we're going to overrule this, that would be, like I said, impossible? No. But I can't imagine all of our justices agreeing to overrule a case like that. Affordable Care Act, I don't know exactly how they want to change it, but they couldn't get it changed before, right? They couldn't get it changed before, and right after he got elected, everybody, you remember that the Reds had the whole Congress, and they had the president, and they couldn't get it through. So I'm not sure, again, if they're going to have the kind of votes to do that kind of destruction. But, again, the Supreme Court also has ruled multiple times that the Affordable Care Act is constitutional, is allowable. But that would all have to go through Congress. The president can do nothing with the Affordable Care Act other than sign legislation passed by Congress. Because of John McCain. Yes. Can they do away with the Constitution? No, they cannot. There is nothing in the Constitution that gives the president the authority to toss the Constitution. He can't do it. It's absolutely not allowed. Now, you might say, well, we have the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's power is in the Constitution. If he pulls the Constitution, then the Supreme Court has no power. We have no Supreme Court anymore. So there's no way I would say our safety net is the states. Federalism, for as difficult as it is that emergency generator. If the feds get so far out of control, the states are going to come in and take care of business. So we've got that as our backup energy source, which means there's no way he can overturn the Constitution. Absolutely no way. There's no way he can overturn the Constitution. Can he come in and overturn a Supreme Court case? No. Can he set a budget for Social Security and disability? No. Those are not his powers. He does not have that kind of power. He can do what he wants. It feels that way. He cannot get rid of the Constitution. He cannot do that. He just cannot do that. Why does he keep saying that? Because he keeps saying that because he has, he has his way about him, right? There's a lot of things that he says that, are a little bit funky, right? Right? A lot of what he says isn't exactly, something you could say in court. He got rid of Roe. Now, one of the things I want to remind everybody about, and I didn't say anything about this because before the election, because I didn't want to mess with anybody. Here's the deal with Roe versus Wade. He comes in and he says he got rid of it. And one of the things that I love, one of my favorite things, is that Roe versus Wade, the Dobbs case, was written by Justice Alito. Now, Justice Alito is one of the justices that was a circuit court judge for the Casey case, which was also overruled. So we have Roe versus Wade and we have Casey. All right. He wrote a dissent in Casey when he was a circuit judge. So since the 90s, this guy has been trying to get Roe overturned. So every single time I heard Donald Trump being like, well, we got Roe overturned, this guy's got to just be screaming because it was his life's work to get Roe overturned. And now Mr. T's getting all of those, Mr. Red Hat is getting all of the credit. So he's got to be pretty upset about that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, that was me. That wasn't the president. That was me. Oh my gosh. Can he expand the court? No, he cannot. What's different about us versus Hungary? Yes, it is. Our Constitution guarantees a Republican form of government, everybody. That's guaranteed. That's written into the articles. That's not an amendment. You are guaranteed a Republican type of government. Any other kind of government is not allowed under the Constitution. You're making me feel less anxious about the upcoming. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's what I'm trying to say, everybody. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. And, I tell you what, I had to turn the TV off. I mean, and I have had to move away from the news because what they're saying isn't right. What they're saying isn't correct. There is a lot of this, he's going to, set fire to the Constitution. Not possible. He has unlimited genie powers. Also not possible. So that's how we set this up. We set it up so that we wouldn't have and couldn't have a king. We set it up that way. Am I a Republican? Absolutely not. Everyone needs to chill. But also, it's a scary time. It's such a scary, stressful time because it's so awful that I think people are like, it's flight, freeze, or fight, right? And so a lot of the fighters are coming in saying let's end this. And I'm like, dude, it's gonna be okay. What about arresting political opponents? You have to have a legitimate reason to arrest somebody. All right. That's point number one. If you don't have probable cause, you cannot indict somebody for a crime. So again, that's one of our most fundamental pieces, and that's required by the Constitution as well. What about women's rights? Yeah, they're certainly not going forward. Equal protection, equal rights are certainly not going to be moving forward in the next 4 years. They're going to be on a sabbatical, all right? They're on a hiatus. So if you're looking for more rights or if you're looking at better rights, no, I don't see that happening. He's an actor. Exactly. That's a great point, Suze. Yeah. He's 4 more years of chaos. But really, technically, I think we're going to have 2 years of chaos with a few punches that we're going to be taking through executive orders and through maybe a couple pieces of rubbish coming out of Congress. We're going to take some hits. But after that, we'll have the midterm elections. Women's banking savings homeowners. Good question. That is not going to change. There was the Equal Rights Act passed in 1964, before? Is that right? Was it before? Was it before Kennedy or after? It was Kennedy's big piece. His baby was the ERA, and that is the Equal Rights Act. Under the Equal Rights Act, that is not going to remove any of the rights that you already have. None of your rights right now are going to be taken away. Roe was the exception because Roe was never a right that was given to you specifically. It was never codified. And because it was in that penumbra or that equal protection language of the 14th Amendment, it could not withstand a grumpy old man on the Supreme Court. What about his current trials? So his 2 federal cases, everybody, Florida is still being appealed. And the issue with Florida is if they don't keep going with that, then Judge Cannon's decision will set precedent. All right. So her dismissal is saying that special counsel was appointed wrong. And if they let that case if they pull that appeal, that's going to be what's on the record. So they may keep that one in order to argue that issue academically so that we don't have precedent with special counsel that sets it the way that she has set it out. Or they may just say, that's what we got. So we'll just leave it at that and we'll leave it as precedent. So that's the Florida case. The DC case, we're at this point, it's possible they could go forward to try to figure out what immunity is to at least get that established. But other than that, no. I mean, I don't know if they're going to put that on pause or how they're going to handle that. But I do not see that actually going forward much further. Georgia, who knows what's going to happen. Next year, it might all come together. That's a state case. He's got no jurisdiction there. He's still technically charged. So it's possible that case could still go. New York sentencing. If a Judge Merchan does not toss the case for immunity issues, which is that would be really weird because, again, he'd be setting precedent that immunity could be over something that was personal rather than an obligation of the job, which would be weird. He's still going to come back in and do the sentencing. That will be something like a suspended sentence, something like fines, perhaps, something along those lines. So that's still going. So there you go. You got four cases. His civil cases, I mean, he's still going to owe some money. He can appeal all he wants if he wants to keep going into court. They may stay some of the cases in some situations, but I don't know exactly how you would go about staying a judgment just because of somebody's job. That doesn't seem okay to me. So I think they're still going to go forward. Can they take away no-fault divorce? Congress. That's Congress. You're going to have to see how Congress goes. Will they have enough votes for that? I do not know. I truly do not know, but I do not believe so. Again, our Congress is not a slam dunk, everybody. We don't have that 2/3 supermajority in the Senate. You're close. We're super close in the House. And again, our Republicans are split. So, there's going to be a lot of negotiations. I cannot say that it's not going to happen, but it would be highly unlikely. And again, we've got 2 years. After 2 years, Congress could flip again. What about the J6 riots? Yeah, that's a good question. He does have pardon power. He absolutely does. He has pardon power. So I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. That is one of those key fundamental jobs that they're talking about. His power to issue pardons is immune. He is immune under that. Can you explain the tariffs? No, I cannot. That is not an area I am familiar with. I have to go and listen to everybody. I got to go listen to Mr. Global. I got to go and listen to all these other experts talk about it because I don't know what's going on there. I know Legal Dad, what's a tariff, man? Help us out. I got to go look that stuff up too. So I don't know. 6 justices. I know, everybody. I know. But again, with the visual, we have 3 solid. And then we have 2 leaning right. And then we have 1 who is left leaning. All right. So you might say 6 are Republican, true, but these two lean to the right, but she leans to the left a little bit. So there's no guarantee. The point is there's no guarantee. Is it great? No. Are the stats good? No. But there's no guarantee. Isn't he appointing more in the term? It depends. It's possible Thomas might retire, Alito might retire, and he would replace them with, right people, right political-minded people. It's possible. It's possible. Any of the liberal ones nearing retirement. The only one that would be anywhere near it would be Justice Sotomayor, and I don't know. She's still got a lot of life in her. She's got a lot of love to give. Can he remove your citizenship? No. There are only certain ways that you can actually have your citizenship revoked. And it's a law. And the only way for that to happen is for a federal attorney to file against you. You would have a due process situation go down, and then a judge would make a decision. So if they're going to remove citizenship, that does not come from the Department of Immigration. So even though that's where people get their citizenship from, the immigrant executive branch piece cannot remove citizenship. That has to go through the courts, and it has to be legally justified. What about permanent residency? That I don't know. Those kinds of details, I just don't know. If it's anything like that in 2016, there could be some changes. There were some pretty significant changes to visas, and I want to see, like, was it B4 or H4, something like that. There were some things that did happen because of executive orders. Those things can happen again. So tweaking different requirements and shifting things around absolutely can happen. Citizenship, no. If something's already guaranteed by law now, also it should be protected or grandfathered in. Government, no. If something's already guaranteed by law now, also it should be protected or grandfathered in. Government give him security clearance? Yes. Yes, they will, because he is required to have it. As president, they will give him security clearance. What about him becoming a dictator? Well, again, everybody, I understand. I understand what you're saying here, and it feels that way because this is all kind of bologna sandwiches. This whole situation is just like a bad bologna sandwich. But here's the deal. We are under the Constitution. Let me see. I've got the Declaration of Independence in here. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. Hold on. Hold on. I'll pull this to the side here. Make sure. All right. So again, everybody, the most important thing to read in the Constitution to help you right now is going to be reading the articles, not the amendments. I think that would be the most helpful right now, because that will show you how things work and what jobs the president actually has and what jobs they don't. Okay, so let me show you this. I didn't quite get to what I was looking for. Under Article 2, it says, no person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to office of the president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained the age of 35. So those are the minimum requirements, and that's a friendly reminder to tell you that's the only thing that's required. The only thing that is required for running. All right. Hold on, everybody. Just 1 second. Okay. Oh, privileges and immunities. Hold on. I'm going to find it. Oh, okay. Here we go, everybody. Here it is. All right. Article 4, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. So you're guaranteed a Republican form of government, everybody. All right? You are guaranteed that. He cannot just declare a dictatorship. The other thing too, though, is if you think there's going to be a full-on, coup or rebellion or, he's going to have to get somehow, those tend to work only if you have the power of numbers. And that would typically involve like a military presence. And, quite frankly, I don't see how he would be able to convince the military to not follow the Constitution. Right. The military takes an oath to their country, and their country under the Constitution is guaranteed a republic form of government. So if he asked them to go in and take over so that he can have a dictatorship, that would be a violation of their sacred oath to the Constitution and the country. And that would be one of those moments where if he's asking you to do something illegal, you do not have to do it. So let me clarify that piece too. All right. What about NATO? Yeah, NATO, that could get ugly. Military takes an oath to the Constitution, not the president. Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's how it's supposed to be, as do all of the federal attorneys, everyone. Keep that in mind too. And the police and the, anybody working in law enforcement, take an oath to the Constitution. National abortion ban, that's going to be real tricky. They have, the reason why Roe v. Wade fell was because they were able to get it in front of 9 people, one of which was a total, person ready to go. But if you're going to try to convince the entire Congress to have a nationwide abortion, no, I do not think they're going to have the numbers again. Will they try? Yes. But will the numbers work? I do not believe so. It's possible, but I do not believe so. Can you do a video on the King's Act? I could. Thanks for helping with my nerves. No, it's okay. It's not great, everybody. Don't get me wrong. It's not great. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about what happened. But I also know that because of all of the checks in place, we still have an incredible amount of power to prevent this complete shutdown of everything. All right. Militias could be used as enforcers. No, militias are states. The states have most of that. That's the other thing too, everybody. When you look to the Second Amendment and you think of militias, what you need to think of more commonly is to think of the National Guard. All right. The National Guard is under the purview of the executive branch. And that is what we're talking about with militias. Now, I will tell you right now, National Guard, who do they take an oath to? To the Constitution, right? To the Constitution. Do you think it's possible he cheated the election? It's possible, but because I'm waiting to get the final numbers. I'm waiting until the official announcement where the electors are chosen, and that's going to be in December. Once December comes in and I take a look and see how the states have done everything that they could do, then no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, deep breath, exactly. Could he recruit his own militia? I suppose he could. He could be like, hey, everyone with a red hat, let's meet on Thursday. I mean, that's possible. Will all the charges be dropped? I'm not sure that they're going to necessarily be dropped, but they might be paused or dismissed without prejudice. So they could be filed again afterwards. So something like that could happen. What specifically should the LGBTQIA be worried about? I would say probably the first biggest concern is going to be healthcare. Down that road. The next big piece is going to be any kind of civil rights violations might take a less, might be less of an issue, might be not as important as they were once. But truly, my belief is going to be we're going to have issues in the health care. Immigration, right. So, right, immigration, I think, again, everybody, we had those executive orders when he was in before, and in those executive orders, he kind of was dinking around with immigration. So, yeah, there's going to be some dinking going on. Marriage suspension, great question, Vicki. Here's the deal. We have a U.S. Supreme Court case, the Obergefell case, that set out the constitutionality of that. Now, we also have a statute, so it has been codified. So unlike Roe, Obergefell or the marriage case was codified by Congress. So Congress would have to get a whole bunch of votes in order to overturn that. Yeah, oh my gosh, changing the Constitution is ridiculously hard. The last amendment, the 27th Amendment that was added, which was kind of like a congressional salary amendment, and technically it was one of the original 12 articles. 12? Wait, hold on. Let me think. I think it was. It was one of the original. They bumped a couple of articles out, and that was one of them. It's the same language as from the original Constitution. So in other words, it's just more of a historical moment to recognize something that James Madison wrote that they thought, that sounds good. We'll add an amendment that includes that language. All right, so there you go. Is he going to mess with Medicaid? Congress. You got to ask Congress. What about Loving v. Virginia? Yeah, Thomas isn't a big fan of that case, but history and tradition and precedent, and that's really important. Now, you might say, well, Roe's that way, but if you actually look at Alito's analysis of how he believed that Roe was not part of history and tradition, he went to cases back in the 1700s. He went to the early 1800s to say that, in fact, the United States had been trying to make abortion illegal since the beginning of time. That was his justification. When we have other cases where we're talking about history and tradition, this court's like, don't touch it, don't touch it. So Roe was this unusual type situation. FAFSA changes is possible. Current federal employees, be careful. Be careful. Look back and see what happened under his executive order when he was president before. There was, again, the federal employees might be hit pretty hard. What about emergency funding to blue states? Again, Congress. It's got to go through Congress. Can he denaturalize? No. Pre-existing conditions? Not yet. Not yet. Reagan fired all air traffic controllers. I'm not surprised. Blue states will get targeted. You know, and that's a great question too, everybody. Some people, I made a post about the blue bracelets, and if you feel better wearing a blue bracelet, you feel like you're supporting, go for it. I'm a big fan. And some people are saying, well, I don't want to be targeted. And here's the deal, everybody, that I would gently remind everybody is that, you know, if you are brown, if you are Black, if you are part of the LGBTQIA plus community, we are targeted. Like, we're already wearing blue bracelets. We just don't technically have the blue bracelets. You know, we're targeted all the time and have been. And especially right now, the LGBTQ community, if you're not passing one way or the other, if you are expressing or being who you are in public, you're a target. Same with immigrants, you're a target. So for me, when someone's saying, well, I don't want to be targeted, I just look around and look at all of us that are targeted. And, you know, we don't want to be targeted either, but we just are, if you look at us. So that's the same kind of situation. Oh my gosh, to the Black ladies out there, oh my goodness gracious. Whoo, y'all got to get on to the Black TikTok. I'm telling you what. All right. So, and I mean, no disrespect. I know there are several ways of identification there, but let me just clarify. There is a group of ladies out there, and they are exhausted. They are angry, and they have had enough of the craziness. So I think I can totally understand. I can totally agree with what's going on there. Exhausted, yes, and resting, exactly. And there is this, like, you know what, we're going to sit this one out. And I completely understand. Working so hard. Oh my gosh, I'm tired of being tired. I know it, I know it, I know it. Military benefits could get changed. Would they be removed? I don't know. Congress is where you need to look. The Republicans have tried previously to pass some legislation with some limitations included. Again, they could try again. It could pass. It's possible. How much power will Musk have? I don't know what position he's going to be in, right? He's going to have to get security clearance too for whatever. And I think he would be a security clearance question. So I'm not really sure what role he would have. To me, he's kind of a Steve Bannon character in my mind. So I'm not sure how he would be able to get into a high position that requires that level of security clearance. Thank you for all the info on how. Oh, absolutely. No, that's fine. No, we're fine. I'm happy to talk about it. And I will continue to talk about it as we go through it. RFK Jr., again, I got no idea what that fella's going to do. I don't know. Although a lot of people really like him. You know, I do not, but a lot of people do. What would he do? I have no idea. I have no idea. Do you think he would be able to get past the Senate to get approved? I don't know. How will his felony convictions play into his presidency? They won't. They won't. He'll just pretend they're not there. Who will be deported? I think anyone who is not documented that and goes through the process, there are a lot of people that get deported all the time, right? So the people getting deported now will be the same people getting deported, you know, when he's in office. The only thing that will really change, in my opinion, will be that the profiling will jump up through the ceiling again. There's going to be a lot of profiling. So, you know, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful when you're out and about. And, you know, I think that that's reality. Mexican-American immigrants are going to be targeted. Do I get stopped and profiled? That's a great question. And I have to be honest, I get stopped and profiled. You know, that happens to me in my red state with my skin tone. And, you know, it's one of those facts of life. As long as you know your rights. Now, if I get pulled over and they're talking to me and I answer their questions and they ask for ID and I give them my ID and then they come back and they say, you're free to go. You know, I keep my head down, keep my hands on the steering wheel, and you know, there's a lot of ways to kind of protect yourself, but I don't think anyone who looks different than Mr. Red Hat, I think everyone is on the list to be profiled. It's possible. Can you discuss the last mass deportation? I don't know enough information about that. Can you make police immunity a thing? They already have immunity. They've had it for a long time, actually. Keep my head down. Oh, yeah. I mean, come on, right? You know what I'm saying. If you've been through that. What'd you say about how much that they can implement? Okay, so I'll go ahead and kind of wrap up tonight here with everybody. And again, I'll be coming back on regularly. So check for me, 7 o'clock Central, around that time in the evening is like my perfect window to be able to come on. But when it comes to P25, everybody, I'm going to walk you through. I will walk you through each of this. There are going to be some changes in the White House itself. So some of the clerical jobs, some of the positions might get changed. People might get moved around. When it comes to the different agencies, there are two kinds of workers. We have the politically appointed ones, or the political hires, and then the regulars. All right, so the political hires are going to happen no matter what. That's just part of the process of having a new president come in. The regular workers, you're going to need to watch out for that executive order coming at you. So new hiring and all of those kinds of things, there's going to be some problems. All right. So take a look at that executive order he had last time. And that's pretty much what I believe you're going to be looking at again. All right. So when it comes to implementation of P25, there are some changes that can be made to some of the industries. But we have to remember Congress has such a huge role that they're going to need Congress to agree in order to do some of the things. I would say 2/3 of the things they want to do, they're going to need Congress for. And Congress is not a guarantee at this point. Again, the Senate, we do not have a supermajority, and in the House, it's a close call. So because of that, we don't have an automatic. So I would say there's going to be bits and pieces. All of the executive orders that fell under P25 last time, they're going to come back again. I have no doubt about it, especially the travel situation as well as the visas. I have no doubt those will come in very quickly. So we've already dealt with a lot of what P25 can do the last time he was in office. Now he's going to try to kick it up a notch. He's going to probably try to get Congress or people in Congress to push certain things. And again, you don't have any guarantees of how it's going to go. Thank you for your time. Oh, yeah, some moderators working hard. Yeah. And I know there have been some big ones through, but things have changed since that time. We've got different legislation. Giving me hope. Oh, it came, of course. What do you mean about travel? Yeah, I mean, we had the travel ban, right? Certain people from certain countries weren't allowed in. So that's probably how it's going to go again. We had a case, Trump v. Hawaii, where the issue became moot on the travel ban, right? Because a lot of attorneys had come in and said, well, that's not right, especially the ACLU. Go to the ACLU's website, everybody. Oh, it's good. They've got good stuff over there. They're getting set up. They're bringing in the extra tables, everyone. The ACLU's like, all right, let's go. So they're doing great work. I highly recommend going and hanging out on their website and taking a look around. That would be highly recommended. Interracial marriage is solid at this point because of how the federal statute is written and because of the legacy of Loving v. Virginia. I just cannot see Justice Amy here coming in and saying, yeah, let's get rid of Loving. Not with her teaching style, not with the way that her brain goes through history and tradition. I cannot see it. Is it possible? I suppose, but I cannot see it. ACLU, everybody. Let me write that down. Well, yeah, I'm still sad and angry. Put me on that list. I'm still sad and angry. Yeah, absolutely. One thing that helps is to know that, take control of what you can, like my relationships with other people and who are those other people, and maybe not even having a relationship with those people anymore, right? That's really helped me a lot. I feel a lot lighter now. I'm like, okay, these people are now invisible to me. I'm not going to deal with that. That's been helpful. Tea break. Oh, thank you. That's right. Now, also, everybody, you have to remember, too, the resistance movement. And, much like for those of you who've seen Star Wars, although I do know one person that's not seen Star Wars, and I just about fall out of my chair every time he says it. But, this is the rebel forces, all right? We've got the Emperor in there, and we are the rebel forces. And so, of course, the resistance is organizing, and they're organizing in each state, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. I have no doubt. So watch your area and put out, your signal and join the resistance in your area. Daisy. Students with disabilities, at this point, I'm not sure how they're going to be able to shake that up. Again, most of the Department of Education isn't necessarily eliminating what the Department of Education does, but moving the biggest, most necessary pieces of it to other agencies. Oh, no. Oh, hugs. Ooh, the potato with baguettes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Can they freeze bank accounts? Of those they don't want to port. That's a very specific question. And you still have to have you still have Fourth Amendment rights and Fifth Amendment rights. The government can't just take your property without proper warrants, without proper judicial orders. They cannot just come in for fun and be like, "Well, I'm going to take your bank account." I mean, technically they could, but then you can sue them for it. So those kinds of things should be good to go. But again, I don't have all the deets on that. The Handmaid's Tale has some afraid. I understand. Here's my other thought though with that. The ideology for The Handmaid's Tale, it's there. The desire is there. But the practicality of it would be impossible to implement. And I do not use definitive terms lightly, everybody. But it would be impossible to implement, especially with the amount of time that he has to be in office. We're looking at, and as I said at the top of our talk here, we're looking at in 2 years, we've got midterm elections. So after he's got 1 year, after that first year, everybody starts campaigning, right? They start campaigning for that next election. That election typically will turn one of the houses one way or the other. And who knows what'll happen. And so then he's going to have a different Congress for the last 2 years. And it's really hard to get anything done with a brand new Congress. That's one of the things put into place to keep having House elections every 2 years. It really just kind of sets the situation so that you have to start from scratch again, over and over and over again. Midterms, absolutely. And really only 1 year of, crazy town until those midterms people start campaigning. And then it's time to get ready again. Get back up and go, man. Felony convictions or the exclusion being removed from job applications. Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Been yelling at young women, your body, our choice. Well, quite frankly, first of all, a lot of those fellas don't even know what that means. Let's just be real. Let's be real about it. Number 2, I've been called a lot worse than that. The best thing you can do to some dingleberry saying stuff like that is to pretend you didn't hear them. Because then they'll say it louder and then you can pretend you didn't hear it again. And then they'll get really frustrated and stomp off like a 3-year-old. Affordable Care Act can get tossed around, but as far as eliminating it goes, his absolute best chance was when, Red flooded everything when he got in 2016. And it didn't happen. So can it be changed? Can it be moved around? Sure. But as far as getting rid of it, at this point, I'm not sure you'd have all the votes to do that. Restored my faith. Oh, well, sure. Yes, and thank you all, of course. So, right. So at this point, everyone, I will go ahead and sign off. I've been saying I was going to sign off for the last 45 minutes, but you all have such great questions. So remember, my time for coming through and going through P25 will be 7 p.m. Central. I'm just not sure which days I'll be able to do that. So kind of just watch for me at that time or look for a notification. Anytime I go live in the morning, I will not be going through P25. I'll be dealing with a different issue, different topic. All right, so if I'm in the evening, I'll be continuing on and going through, answering questions and talking a little bit more about the plan here. So with that, everyone, I will go ahead and sign off and say, take care of yourselves. I'll see you all very, very soon. And we'll go through and figure out some more stuff. So good night, everybody. Take care. And moderators, you are, of course, my superstars. Thank you.